we have a speaker card, Mr. Mims?
Yeah, I decided to slow down this roller coaster you got going here. I'm not sure about anybody else in here, but I like to, when I go to places, I like to feel somewhat comfortable. This is an ice box in here.
We tried the heater, but it was...
Yeah, I know.
You have a choice.
Anyway, I just wanted to say that the concern I have is, it says public input and informational meeting. My question is, where and when has the public given you any input as to what kind of public input meeting or information meeting that you're going to have? I see that you have 4 already, but those were board input informational meetings that you set aside. So what about the public? Because the public is being used in this staff report too much for me, but the public is not involved in making a decision on what kind of specific meetings you guys should have. Ms. Hanson, before when you first got on board, you always stated that you like to hear from the public, from the people. That's the kind of public informational meeting that I had envisioned, at least one, because, I mean, you need to hear from the people. And so one of those meetings should be somewhat like a listening session so that you can hear from the people. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mims. Is that it on? Okay, on that item. So that this item is action 16.14, public input and information meetings. And I would ask if there's a motion, which of course I have a motion for it. And I move we approve these 4 public input meetings. And actually, you may not like my motion, but I move we approve these 4 public input meetings and add 2 more meetings to allow for joint meetings with Walnut Creek and Martinez if there is an interest.
Second.
So motion by Ms. Hanson, second by Mr. Lawrence. And I would like to explain how these came to be. These are public input meetings, and what's been interesting in the last couple of months is I've met with, I've met with so many city council members and mayors, and I went to the Contra Costa Mayors Conference, and I couldn't have been more warmly welcomed. I approached some of the mayors and said, we're interested in reaching out to the cities. I have not only been warmly embraced, they are now contacting me. I just heard from Mayor Garcia, the mayor of Walnut Creek, who said, can we be included in these meetings? We saw your agenda, and I happen to have picked 4 cities. Mr. Lawrence had also suggested we meet in different geographic locations. And I'm sort of on a mission right now, in my mind, to reach out to our various cities, in part because I've talked with so many of the city council members who have said, and we talked about it earlier, I've heard from Pleasant Hill with discussion about some interest in how they can get more involved in conversations with our district. I've heard from the city of Walnut Creek about their interest in how we can work together. Heard from the Concord mayor about how we can work together. Bay Point representatives about how can you come out here and have conversations with us. I have never heard more interest from city council and mayors than I have in the last 2 months. And it was a no-brainer to me to come up with this idea. And in fact, I met with Mayor Harris of Pleasant Hill because I was a little startled. I picked up the Contra Costa Times one morning, and there was an article that said Mayor Harris announces his educational initiative. And I said, I don't even know about this. So I picked up the phone and called him, and he said, let's have lunch and figure out how we can work together. And I found out over the last couple of months that they are chomping at the bit to just have conversation, just to connect, just to figure out how we can work together. And I have not only not been rejected by them, they've actually started contacting me to say, we'd like to be included. So at which point I felt, we had 4 meetings left, but we have 2 more cities. I haven't connected yet with Martinez to see what their thoughts are, but I'll tell you what, these other groups have been absolutely enthusiastic about when can we do this. And the Pleasant Hill mayor, as a matter of fact, wanted to do something in March with us. And he and I, talking together, sort of thought of the idea of meeting with the city council, with each city. And there's so many city-specific needs. And it's not that they don't see us as unified, but they see us as very, there's a great deal of interest in community schools and how we can talk together about what the city of Pleasant Hill schools might mean to them, because it does have an impact on their real estate. What the Bay Point schools mean to that community, what the Concord schools mean to that community. Walnut Creek's quite interested in reaching out. As a matter of fact, Mayor Garcia told me she was actually thrilled because she hadn't heard anything since 2006. I guess there was a meeting at some point in the past. And so we sort of hatched this idea of meeting with the school board and the city council and opening it up to the community in that city. So it's a meeting a joint meeting which the mayors have endorsed and been excited about between the city council and the school board. And the agenda is really around the city and our schools. And that is where the idea was for the community to attend that meeting, so the Pleasant Hill community, whoever's interested, I don't know if it'd be 10 people or 100 people, but whoever's interested in coming forward to talk about how, you know, the schools are working with the city and how we can work better together. Because the thing that worries me the most is that we end up out on the cold like a, you know, stepchild, and we're not in communication with the cities. And they are just dying to be proud of our schools. And Mr. Moore mentioned this earlier, the idea that there is this interest out there in this community, and this should be a great school district. There is absolutely no reason. The people I've talked with in our communities are dying to be proud of the schools. And for us not to reach out and have these conversations, I think would be crazy. And so the people in that city are invited in. It's not a board-directed meeting. It's an input meeting but city-oriented, and a chance to meet together with the city council and see how we might work together. So that's why I'm asking that we expand it into Walnut Creek, because they got a little, you know, she said, where are we on your list? And I started counting, and I ran out of meetings, and I know it's not a thrill for people, but I say we make this investment now in our communities. If we don't do it right now, I think we miss a valuable opportunity to build a partnership. Is there any other comment, Mrs. Mayo?
No, I'm interested in it. I enjoyed the city meetings that we had in the past.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, it's Cindy Silva. Thank you. Ryan's passing me notes here, by the way. I wondered
But there was
so I know her so well, right?
So I'm expecting that we would finish these before graduations begin in June. So we're looking at March, April, and May to schedule all of these meetings, because they will, if we're going to them, they'll want to hold them on their meeting nights.
Yeah. Well, not necessarily. Mayor Harris suggested we could find a joint meeting time. So he said if this item gets approved tonight, just as Mayor Silva of Walnut Creek, feel free at any time, you know, hold up cue cards. And,
trying to be subtle.
no, that's okay.
So how will you gather our calendars and match those with the city calendars, the city council member calendars?
And I think we can probably perhaps go through Ms. Joseph as we did for the board retreat, sending available dates and times, and see. I'll work with each of the mayors and find out if we approve this, what works for them. But Mayor Harris and Pleasant Hill actually suggested that we hold a meeting together, not just on their city council meeting night. So what I would like to do is follow through with each of the cities, because I haven't set meeting dates for each one. It's only, they all want to know, except Martinez I still need to connect with. But the other cities want to know when this might occur. So I would be working on some dates and try to bring that back March 11th. So if we found out some available dates here, and I need to ask the cities as well what available dates they have, bring those back and see what's possible.
Ideally, we would do all 6 as soon as possible, but I would hate to, or prior to graduation, but if that's not possible, I don't want that to be the enemy. I'd rather us do 1 or 2, however many we can.